You know I'm right. Episode 300, 300. I am Nick Durst, of course, joined as always by my co-host Joe Calabrese. And Joe, for the 300th episode, was there any other guest we can get than the one we have here with us here today?
I mean, the truth of the matter is I don't know if we were able to get anybody else on short notice. Anyway, point being is yes, this is episode 300. We want to know if he actually likes the film 300. We'll ask him that. But we are very, very happy. Our great, humble friend,
Four-time guest now.
four-time guest. The next time he's going to have to go through his friend Corey and get Booker on with us once he becomes a five-time guest. But he's a 2024 Emmy Award winner for MLB Tonight. You can see him on the MLB Network, NHL Network. He is the host of the Cinephile podcast. Once again, our dear friend, longtime friend, Adnan Virk. Adnan, welcome back.
Joe, Nick, I'm humbled. A wonderful introduction. I can't believe I'm in the four-timers club. That's incredible. I
you had nothing better to do, right?
Yeah, exactly. I just want to catch up with you guys. Listen, whether it's being recorded or not, it's just good to catch up with you guys. You want to on your podcast? You want to just hang out, have a conversation? You know I'm right. I'm always down for the cause. I apologize, I was in a rush, so I did not put on my You Know I'm Right hoodie, but I have it upstairs. I wear it proudly. I've texted you guys wearing it at the gym. The other day, actually, a woman actually came by and goes, man, I love that sweatshirt. I'm like, thanks. It's a great podcast. I think she just liked You Know I'm Right, meaning like she's arrogant and stuff. But I'm like, no, the podcast is actually where it's at. I'm here primarily for one major reason. It's not just to celebrate 300, and congrats to you guys. It's a massive achievement. I don't think you guys realize. I asked Chris Cody one time while doing Cinephile, I said, what's a notable achievement for a podcast? And he goes, 100. He's like, yeah. He goes, I think 200. He goes, I think if you get to 200, that's pretty good. And you guys are now at 300. So you've elapsed so many other podcasts. But I'm here for one primary reason. Joe, I want to know what's the secret in your vodka sauce? Because I
Wow, he pays attention. I don't know. A good magician never reveals his secret.
Okay. All right. Well, we got to get that vodka sauce. I'll order a can of Calabrese vodka sauce. I'm in. I'll donate.
Absolutely.
I'll donate to You Know I'm Right, and then I'll get some of your secret sauce.
All right. And I'll show you how to make a pizza. I'll give you like a list and maybe places around where you are, because there are certain places by Nick and I where we can get ingredients and stuff. So you definitely need fresh ingredients. You need obviously fresh dough, definitely fresh mozzarella. You don't want to get like the bag mozzarella at the supermarket. It would do the job, but you need fresh ingredients. And yeah, sure, I would be more than happy to send you over a container or something of vodka sauce. Thank you.
I love it, man. It's great. It's great.
Lots more food talk to come, of course. But I wanted to ask you about that Emmy. You won the Emmy finally, a career crowning achievement. Now, from what I've been told from some great researchers over there at MLB Network, who I know and have worked with, it takes about a year to 18 months to actually get the Emmy. So have you actually gotten it yet? And I see you told us beforehand you're renovating the studio downstairs.
Yeah.
That Emmy's got to be prominently displayed, I would think, if you get
Well,
it.
as you guys know, with 4 kids, I'm really scared about where to put it because there's a high probability it's going to get damaged. So I may just leave it in the case, quite frankly. Whatever it comes, I'll just leave it in the box and put it in the garage so the kids can never break it. And then if people want to see it, somebody comes over, I'm happy to, go to the garage.
Like the Super Bowl ring.
Correct. Yeah. I think so. I think just keep it locked away. I really don't think, again, if I didn't have kids, it'd be different. If I just, had it prominently displayed, but I think it's like a Super Bowl ring. I'll just have it tucked away. And whenever I need to pick me up, I'll go check it out. A year to 18 months. That's outrageous. I don't know who gave you that pick. Will Folger, our dear friend, of course, you remember him from our time together, Nick, an outstanding coordinating producer, and a big reason why MLB Tonight won that Emmy Award. When we won it in May, he told me it takes a few months to at least August. So as we record this, it's August 22nd. Hopefully the next week it comes. I think it's going to be relatively soon, actually, because 2 weeks ago, we got an email sent to us from MLB Network saying, hey, you're on the list to receive an Emmy. Let us know what your address is, phone number, what the engraving should be. So I can't imagine I gave that information, and a year later they're going to send me the Emmy Award. So
are you going to take out an insurance policy on that, like the
no?
Thing,
I don't even know if that's possible. Okay. I think they'd laugh in my face. I'm like, I get an insurance policy and an Emmy Award. I'm like, we don't do that for sports Emmys, sir. I'm like, okay, well, I just tried.
So Adnan, we got to clarify something for our viewers, because you call Nick Fred, right? So, the obvious is Fred Durst. Is that why you do it?
There's 2 reasons. One, that's the obvious one, because I said Nick Durst, obviously I think of Fred Durst. Now, I wanted to go with Robert Durst, but he vetoed that because he did murder people. So I go, fair enough. But if given a choice, I would if you just said to me, if Nick goes, you can call him whatever you want, I call him Robert without question. Every time, like, Robert, how you doing? I'm like, no, he doesn't want to be called a murderer. Fine. I will go with Fred Durst. Fred is also very good. But there's a second part to it, which I think is more amusing, which taps into Cinephile. So in the making of Lawrence of Arabia, Peter O'Toole meets Omar Sharif, who's a dashingly handsome Egyptian actor. And he says, your name is Omar Sharif? And he's like, yeah. He's like, there's no way a guy as handsome as you then has this beautiful regal name, Omar Sharif. He goes, yeah, that's my name. He goes, no, from now on, your name is Fred. Until his dying days, Peter O'Toole will call Omar Sharif Fred. So I kind of do it mainly for the Durst, but I also do it in honor of Peter O'Toole, Lawrence of Arabia. I call Fred Fred. Keep him humble.
Now, the other day we had a comedian on, and he said to Joe that I sound like Ray Romano. Wow. I don't necessarily hear it. I want to get your thoughts.
Yeah, that's a terrible insult. Ray Romano is a wonderful actor, previous guest in Cinephile. I love his work. He's amazing in The Irishman. Marty obviously likes him a lot, and of course, everybody loves Raymond Speaks for Itself. But as a voice, I mean, I wouldn't say that's necessarily his strength. I know this comedian probably wasn't being disparaging to you. Just, you kind of sound like him. But I've never once in my life, we've been friends for years now, 5 years. I've never once in my life, you know what, Fred kind of sounds a little like Ray Romano. Zero. I mean, he has like it's kind of a tough voice to imitate, actually. It's like kind of nasally, kind of like a frog. Like I couldn't even do Ray Romano.
This guy's a Midwesterner, so it's like, oh, New Yorker, it must be Ray Romano.
But I've never I mean, Joe definitely exudes Italian. Like when I talk to Joe, I'm like, hey, he seems like an Italian American New Yorker. But I would never think, oh yeah, Nick's a classic Italian guy, New York, sounds like Ray Romano. Like I don't. That's a very bizarre comp.
Well, you mentioned it. We've been friends now for 5 years. I think it's safe to say that you and I, we talk more than you and Joe. Yeah, for some reason, you and Joe are always hanging out without me. You go to the Yankee games together, taking the train in. You go to autograph signings. What's up with that?
So the movie Stillwater, which I love, I don't know if you guys have seen it. Matt Damon's in it, and he plays this character who's trying to find out what's happened to his daughter. He's over in France, and there's one scene, like I love the movie. It didn't really make much money. Not many people have seen it. I'm sure if I ever meet Matt Damon, maybe thrill him. Like, oh, I love Stillwater. Came up, let's say 2019. It was during the COVID era, so 2020, 2021. Anyway, there's one scene in a soccer stadium. It's the one scene where I didn't care for because I go, you know what? That's a bit of a reach in this giant soccer stadium. The guy he's looking for, he happens to see. And then I remember what happened when I was going to Yankee Stadium with my kids, and on the same subway train, I look over, and there's Joe Calabrese. So I'm like, you know what? Crazy things do happen. Like randomly in a city of 8.8 million people, I just happen to see Joe on the exact same train going to Yankee Stadium at the same time. So you know what? Crazy things do happen.
I was with my friend who lives in Jersey. He lives kind of like Central. There's no such thing as Central Jersey, but he kind of lives where it's like Six Flags is.
Yeah.
Where we're running late, and we're taking the path in to Manhattan, and then we're getting on at 42nd Street, right? And again, we're running late.
Yeah.
And how do we land on the exact spot, the exact car, the exact door where we walk inside, and who is right there?
Yeah.
Adnan. And your sons were there too, right?
And what did the kids think of Joe? We're like, who's this crazy Italian guy?
Loved him. We'd gone to a stretch, I think, because we'd gone to a Knicks game and taken the train, and they really enjoyed it. So I said, okay, we'll just take the train more. So, but it was a disastrous decision because, as you guys know, I live in Bergen County, so I'm quite close to Yankee Stadium. If I drive, it's 35 minutes, no traffic. We literally took a train from my town all the way down to Secaucus, and then had to go cross over to Penn Station and then take the train up north. But it made no sense. So I think they were just enjoying it because like, oh, driving the train. But I realized in my head, I'm like, this is taking so long. So Joe was the one pleasant surprise. I was like, all right, in the midst of this ride, which is taking longer than it should, we get to meet Joe. And Joe seems like an awesome guy. So the kids were all in on Joe. Joe's a very likable guy. Nobody does. Who the hell dislikes Joe? You can't meet anybody who dislikes Joe. If they do, they're a communist. They can't be in this country.
Joe's a likable guy.
Yeah, I know. But listen, two amazing points of destiny. Two very unique stories. One running late. One, like, you have no idea. You're actually going out of your way.
Yeah.
And converge at the exact same time. Like, how do you not believe in this stuff? Like, how many things is it going to take to convince him?
It's serendipity, man.
There it
is. It was unbelievable.
Word.
Yeah.
So, listen, 300 episodes, you know I'm right, Adnan. You came on as the first guest. You were on episode 100. 200 and now 300, a four-time guest. I think you now passed Jay Mariotti for guest appearances.
That's really what I wanted to know, Fred. I want to know if I have the most appearances. If not, I'll come back next week.
I think Jay is Mariotti's 3. So I think
Mariotti being 3 is incredible, by the way.
Yeah,
Mariotti is a good friend. But so 4 episodes now. I mean, you host a podcast, so you know how much work goes into it. But then you also got to factor in me booking the guests, editing the shows, posting on social media. I mean, it's a lot of work. Can you believe that we made it to episode 300?
Well, listen, of all the skills, and you guys both have a lot of charisma, you're both funny, you have good chemistry, you know each other well, you have good questions. I mean, all that stuff is there. But of course, a lot of other podcasts have that as well. Like, how are you guys able to stand out? I think what I've noticed with You Know I'm Right. There's two things that really stand out to me. One, the social media presence, phenomenal job. Like, in so many ways now, people find it just a challenge to download. But Instagram, Twitter, whatever, like you guys are posting all the time. It's very readily available. It's in smart little tight capsules. It's entertaining. It's funny. It's enough to want to see more. And if you just see the 1 minute clip, fine. If you want to seek out more, great. But here, what I think is the strength of You Know I'm Right. The booking. I'm astounded at these guests you guys get. Like, I'm amazed. Like, I think one of the great challenges are when it comes to podcasts, it's an oversaturated market. There's way too many of them. And yet it's underserved. Think about that statement. So it's oversaturated, but yet underserved. So there's too many of them. And yet not enough people are actually consuming podcasts because there's a certain demographic that doesn't really listen to it. 50 plus is not into podcasts, but then like 18 to 29 really is. So I'm amazed is that within all that competition, you guys are somehow able to book like legit, seriously good guests from like all different spheres. It's not like, oh, well, our sports background, like, oh, sports, entertainment, movies, reality television. Like, I'm just waiting for Melissa Gorga to come on. I'm like, I'll be blown away.
Listen, Joe met Melissa Gorga in person because he was backstage at an event. I couldn't go last year, just had my son, so we sent Joe, of course, to the Gorga event. And Joe, he got to meet Melissa Gorga, so you never know. Maybe
true or false? Joe Gorga, awesome guy, great guy. True. Melissa Gorga, not as friendly as you were hoping, Joe.
Well, I mean, I wouldn't say that.
Okay.
Melissa is the business-oriented one between the two.
Got it.
Joe is like what you see is what you get.
Yeah.
Very animated person. What I've noticed is that, especially when it comes to interacting with his fans, he's very, very warm. When I went there in October, I went with and then met up with my friend Mike, and Mike was he left the room for about 10, 15 minutes or so, and I actually had time one-on-one to spend with Joey, and I got to have a brief conversation with him. He was incredibly nice to me, remembers me, remembers Nick and I now. I got to see him pace back and forth and kind of prepare for his routine once he goes on. So after Mike comes back, a little while after, the family and the friends all come in, so I get to introduce myself. And again, Melissa, warm welcome, but very business. No time for any of the extra conversations. Right. She's just there to get business done. So that would be my
when are you gonna take your wife to Melissa Gorga's store? I don't think it's too far from you in New Jersey.
No, for Amin, I got her I think it was last Mother's Day. I got her a gift certificate to Envy. It's like 5 minutes from my house.
Wow.
Yeah. 5-minute drive, maybe a 35-minute walk. I mentioned to her the other day because you were walking around the neighborhood. I said, you haven't been back to Envy. And she's like, it's a little expensive. It's a little overpriced. I said, really? She goes, the $100 gift certificate you got me, she ended up getting a dress. She goes, I could have got that for $30 from like Nordstrom or something. So she said it's nice, but it's a little overpriced.
Listen, there's a lot of overpriced places by you. Is there any good delis that you think would be worth driving out of the way to?
No, it's funny. It's funny you mentioned that because it's like delis. I had a couple of buddies visiting from Toronto, and I was like, a real Jersey thing is delis. And I guess you'd have to ask them from the area why they love the diner experience so much. I don't really understand what separates a diner from a restaurant. I guess it's just a general vibe, or maybe it's a certain type of sandwich. I really don't know. But I said, I drive on my way to work. I always see a diner. It's a very Jersey. People who leave Jersey always go, oh man, I miss the diners there. Oh, how are the diners? I'm like, oh, they're fine. They're still existing. I drive by, I see 3 or 4 diners on my way to work every day. So I wish I could go to the diner to Mandy Rose's company has. I don't know where that is.
Arthur Avenue Deli, right?
Arthur Avenue Deli. That's
Arthur
right.
Avenue Deli.
You were just at a diner though, where Tony Soprano.
Correct.
Had some onion rings.
By the way, Arthur Ave Deli, it's great that Mandy's posting and supporting, but it'd be nice to know when she's working. Like, she just posts Arthur Ave Deli, but like, what are your hours? If you're there between the hours of noon and 4, I'll be there. I think most fans would be, but that's a little misleading.
That's probably why she doesn't post. She doesn't want any crazy.
Correct. Doesn't want. She's drawing attention to the business, but not wanting attention toward herself. That's exactly what she's doing. I think with regards to Holstein's, legendary place. Like, my buddies were here. They're huge Sopranos fans, as am I. And anybody who has a brain is a Sopranos fan. So I said, I'll take you to the house. I've actually never been. I said, I've been here 5 years now. 14 Aspen Avenue, Caldwell, New Jersey. That's the actual Sopranos house where they shot the exteriors and some of the interiors. Eventually, they went to a soundstage. But it's amazing. Just to drive up was great. I wish I was playing Woke Up this morning, but it was still cool. The 2 houses next to are incredible, by the way. 15 Aspen Drive and 16 are gigantic. I was like, the 16 Aspen Drive, I was like, oh my God, blew me away. But what stands out, of course, is Tony's driveway. As soon as you drive, you go, there's a driveway. Right. I just picture him in white bathrobe walking down to get a copy of the New York Star Ledger.
And they've got a Sopranos documentary coming out soon, which will be reviewed on Cinephile in a few weeks.
Right, which I am very concerned. I had no idea it was coming, and like everybody else, I lost my mind. And then I got a message from a guy yesterday who DM'd me because, just so you know, I watched it at the Tribeca Film Festival, which is Robert De Niro's Tribeca is his film festival, and he goes, "It's terrible." He goes, "It's just David Chase talking, and he's a very boring guy." And I will corroborate with this: as brilliant as he is, and he's a genius because he created The Sopranos, he is not a warm, friendly, or charismatic person. If Melissa Gorga is business-oriented, David Chase is less than business-oriented. I met him only once briefly at Death of a Salesman, which is one of my favorite plays, one of my favorite actors, the late, great Philip Seymour Hoffman. And on the way, as we're walking out, I turn my wife and go, "Oh my God, it's David Chase." Like he's just filing out. And I go, and I sum up the courage. And I'm like, "David, huge surprise." He's like, "How you doing?" Like, no emotion. I'm like, "Okay." And I'm like, "Hey, what'd you think of the play?" He's like, "Great." And I was, "What are you working on now?" He's like, "Movie." I'm like, "Okay, we're not going to continue this conversation anymore." So judging by my limited interaction and my friend's review, I don't think this documentary is going to be that great. But like all things Sopranos, I will check it out. And I will say, by the way, at the house, there is one prominent sign that said private property, do not trespass. I think a lot of people started to go up the driveway and get a better look. But I still had a really good look. Then we went to Holstein's, which is, of course, the final scene of The Sopranos. I said, "Can we sit in the Soprano booth?" There was a guy there already. Once he left, we immediately moved over there. I got to sit exactly where Tony was. There's no chime when the door opens. Famously, that last shot, the chime goes and Tony kept seeing it. Eventually, Meadow walks in, cuts to black. But it's a hell of a place, man. They have a ton of great sweets. Chocolate milkshakes are amazing. Good burgers. I remember in the show, of course, Tony orders onion rings. Yeah. The onion rings are not great. I've asked Jersey people, like, "Oh, Holstein's does not have good onion rings." But because of the show, people order onion rings. They're actually quite terrible. So I avoided that. But it was a great Sopranos day. Very, very cool. And then, by the way, on the way back, of course, he said, "Where's the bada bing?" I said, "It's on 17." I said, "Come on, let's be honest here." So we drove by. I said, "I think it's called Satin Dolls." But I said, again, I drive by at work every day. And the part they found the funniest, Joe, is the fact you can see the sign says "Home of the Bada Bing."
Bada Bing, yep.
Like all these years later,
sounds like Joe's been there.
You can identify Lambert.
I've driven past there.
Yeah, Joe's driven by. He's never gone inside.
Right. So when you sit down to watch this, like let's say you wanted to eat something, you wanted to get some pizza. What's your go-to type of pizza? Because I think a lot of people are going to be shocked to hear what your go-to type of pizza is. I had pizza with you once. You're very generous. You bought the staff some pizza, but there were some strange pies there.
Well, it's very controversial. Now, again, I get it. I don't eat pork being Muslim. If I did, of course, a pepperoni pizza, no one's going to turn that down, sausage and peppers, etc. But because of that, people go, "What are you ordering?" So I go, I want to have some meat there. So I go grilled chicken. And already people are like, "Oh my God, chicken on a pizza." But I'm like, "No, it's good grilled chicken." I go onions, I go green peppers and mushrooms. Those are the four things I like on a pizza. Now, if people get really angry, I'll substitute the chicken for ground beef. That's still acceptable, but that's still what it is. It's funny.
I think it's the peppers and mushrooms that are kind of like...
I don't know what ends up being, Nick, but it's funny. I remember years ago to ESPN, I'd get pizzas for the crew, and same thing. I go, "All right, 2 pep, 2 cheese, and then one of mine," which I would call a specialty. And we're talking, these are people making $28,000 a year. Everyone's starving. They're going to eat anything. And the pepperoni's gone like that. The cheese is gone. 4 hours later, I'm like, "My specialty pizza." I was like, they pick off a couple peppers here. People are just desperate for some pizza.
The Adnan special. Yeah. How about, you got to try this. You try the crispy chicken. It's like a chicken cutlet on Joe's vodka sauce on the pizza.
Oh my God. I'm in heaven at that point. I mean, that sounds fantastic. And you know what I hate is, of course, buffalo chicken. People go, "You love," I go, "I could eat chicken every day." I'm like Wade Boggs. Wade Boggs famously, as a member of the Red Sox, would eat chicken every day. I could eat chicken every day, but buffalo chicken, no bueno. I'm looking for, grilled chicken, lightly breaded, something. But with Joe sauce, it'd be amazing.
No, absolutely. I think chicken goes well. For me as an Italian, just quickly, as I get older, it's very difficult to eat meat on pizza. Like the pepperoni, like even prosciutto. It's
I like plain cheese.
It's difficult to go down. Right. I'm not really a mushroom on pizza guy. And when it comes to those toppings, maybe it should be a specialty pizza. Like if you're getting like a Philly cheesesteak pizza and you're getting like a white sauce, like kind of with it. You could add those toppings because it adds like pop and flavor to it. But on a regular pizza, I'm like with Nick. At this point, it's just like as I get older, regular pie, regular cheese pie, regular margarita pie, thin pie. It doesn't matter. Anything else is just too much for me.
No, a cheese pizza, you can't go wrong because you can order that for everybody. Kids, adults, no one's questioning that. But you got me thinking now, Joe. I want to maybe try a Philly cheesesteak pizza. That sounds pretty good.
It is.
Maybe the Say Hey Cafe would make it for you.
I don't think that's true.
They
that's
got
the
Philly cheesesteaks and they got pizza. So...
It's been years, Fred, since I've gone to that cafeteria. I'm not
really? Okay.
Yeah, because when we worked together 5 years ago, we would go, me, you, Rogowsky, and I would complain about it. But eventually, asked one of our producers, goes, when are you going to learn? Like you go there every time and you get disappointed. And I was like, yeah, you're right. So I have not been to that. I mean, maybe I've walked by it, but I don't. You know, the one time I go is on opening day, they give us a free meal. So I
But you
go on
can't
opening
even eat
day.
on opening day. You're always fasting usually.
Well, Ramadan goes up by 10 days every year. So I'm
Okay.
trying to think. This year, I think might have missed it. But you're right. It may have been actually. But you know what? No, you're right. It was during Ramadan, but I grabbed it. I said, I'll eat it after sundown. So I
Okay,
still
makes
took the free meal. I got the voucher. But
that
I
was
have not
that
eaten
was a
at that
great perk.
calf.
I remember that.
It
Yeah, that
was
was a
Opening
good
day
perk.
I was there.
Yeah. Opening day, $10 voucher.
great conversations we're having to say hey cafe. So I want to bring your wife back into this because
Sure.
we always mention her and we don't really get into too much detail about this, right?
Yeah.
So where did you first meet your wife?
So she's originally from San Jose, which is where she is right now with the boys. She went back to California to visit her family out there. So yeah, originally my cousin introduced us, and I said this is never going to work. Long distance relationships never work. You know, I'm from Toronto, she's in California. Uh, but it was great, man. It's been magical. 17 years, 4 kids
Wow.
later, and I will say, I don't know for you guys. I know Joe's still living the good life, of course. Nick happily married, but I'm like when you're long distance relationship, that does put added pressure on speeding things up. Meaning if you both live in Staten Island, you could date for 3 years, 4 years. Like, who
Right.
cares? Eventually, we'll live together, figure it out. But when you're long distance, you go, okay,
Two
this is
different
costing me.
countries too.
Right. It's different because this is costing me a lot of money just to go see you. The phone bill is adding up. Like, is this serious or not? So thankfully, I think we accelerated at a good pace, and it's been great. She has to deal with me and put up with me, and it's been fun. And I know you guys think she looks like some people in the New York area sometimes too. So that's interesting. She could have been on air, maybe.
She's got a familiar face.
Yeah.
Listen, I gotta ask. Our fans gotta know. Is the shop closed or is one more kid on the table at some point?
No, it's funny. I went yesterday to Connecticut to visit a couple of my friends, and one of my friends who's having his third child, the great Dan Stanzik, his wife kind of said to me, "It's like, how many?" In that frame, she kind of said something, "Are you done?" And I was like, "If we have 4 boys, like we're good here, man." Like, and then
That's the
Dan
dream.
told her
Amin's a little younger than you, right?
she is. She's 7 years younger than me, so
Okay.
she could still crank him out. She looks great. She looks 20 years younger, so there's no issue there. But I just think at this point, Joe, we're tapped in terms of energy, resources. At 16, 13, 7, and 5. I couldn't imagine to have another child again after. It's been a blessing. It's been incredible, but I think 4 is great. I really do. Like I think when someone says to me, "I got 4 kids," I'm like, "That's great, 4 boys." And as everyone says, I go, "I'm sure clearly Eamon wanted a daughter." I'm like, "Well, obviously, I think if we'd gone son daughter, we may have stopped at 2 or 3. But
Stop
once it was
shop.
like boy, boy,
You gotta
boy,
keep
boy, I'm like,
going.
okay,
Then you
that
get to the third, you're like, all right, one
yeah,
more.
correct. And then you go, okay, that's it.
I mean, you got the dream. Eventually, you're gonna have a couple of athletes, right? Listen, wrestling has more
100%.
than one royal family, so maybe family.
Broadcasting could have more than
That
one
would be
royal
the dream. A
family.
former voice of WWE Raw would then have a child one day in the ring taking a bump. That's the dream for the Virks.
Um, so one more question about your wife, and then we'll move
Yeah.
on. Just an ideal date night between the two of you. Do you guys like going out, doing something
Yeah.
low key, fancy restaurants? You
Standing
stay
room
local?
only plays in Manhattan.
Yeah. Restaurant, the place to be. I think that's generally the best. It's funny. I took her to a place in New York for her birthday because Jesse Palmer had recommended it. And we go there. And again, you guys can speak to this with the pasta. Like, I like to have some protein, I like to have some meat, but the pasta dishes all had no meat. And I was like, oh man, like, I mean, I love penne. I ate penne with the chicken and mushrooms. So it was all right. But Eamon was pretty annoyed afterwards. And I was like, this is a Jesse Palmer. Like, Jesse Palmer is one of my most successful friends. He's a massive foodie and had really good ambiance. It was very romantic. They had flowers and stuff, music. It was really cool. But the food itself, like, she was annoyed. So it was our anniversary recently. And for this date night, when I took her up for dinner, she's like, we're not going back to the city. Because she goes, to go to the city, $15 across the bridge, you're making the effort, parking, babysitter, et cetera. Like, it better be good. And last of the food was okay to subpar. So this time we went local. There was a place in Ridge we went to. Again, Italian food. We love Italian food. It's called, I'll look it up. It's something like it's called From Scratch because they make the pasta that day from
Nice.
scratch. Again, though, I was like, can I add some chicken? They're like, no, you just have to have pasta only. I'm like, but what I did like about it was its exclusive timing. It's only open from like 6 until 10 p.m., 5 days a week, and the lunch is only 12 till 3. Closed Sunday. So she goes, that's how you know it's good. I'm like, really? She goes, yeah. If it's like a machine they're cranking out, this is like 5 guys, some old Italian guy just cranking this pasta from scratch. You know it's going to be good. So food's always where it's at for us.
Well, and then I'm thinking maybe you could pull some strings, call Jesse Palmer, of course, the host of The Bachelor, and say, listen, my buddy, he's single. He's just turned 32. I think he'd be great on reality TV. Maybe he's gonna look for love as well. And we get Joe on The Bachelor because, I mean, great. It would be great for him if he found love, but selfishly, it would help our podcast tremendously to have Joe on The Bachelorette. So maybe that could happen. But if not, everybody comes to you for advice. So, what advice do you have for Joe here in the dating pool right now? What could he do to broaden his horizons? Perhaps
I don't think he needs any advice from me. Listen, last time I
Virgin.
checked, Joe's doing pretty good. He's going on dates like he changes his socks. So I don't think I'm the last guy in the world to worry about him. What I love about Joe is he's got like a natural charisma about him.
Yes.
He's authentic. He's a great talker, right? You put him in any situation, Joe could talk. Whether he's talking to John Skipper or he's talking to me, he will naturally find a way of communication.
Well, listen, Joe
loves that story.
Joe, did you tell Adnan who you spent the last 2 Super Bowls with?
Pablo Torre?
Oh, this has never been released in public before. This is really, really good.
You want to tell him or I'll tell him?
No, I'll say. So to tie it back on what you said before, Nick and I have a friend. His name is Johnny Benizia, right? So he does sports betting, does a lot of.
He actually lives on the block where the Tony Soprano house is.
Correct. He lives
in Caldwell. Okay.
He's in Caldwell. His father lives on right before you turn onto the little like side street, like cul-de-sac where Tony's house is.
Yeah.
He lives off that main street, that main road. I forgot what the name of the main road is. So that's his father. But Johnny and I wouldn't say close, but he's much closer to her than I am. But we've spent the last 2 Super Bowl Sundays at Cinephile in Midtown with Lisa Ann.
Wow. That's never been released before. That's unbelievable.
Yeah, Joe's going to a strip club for the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I remember Lisa Ann. She was on the show, right? She was on, I'm right. No? Okay.
Now we got to get her on.
Okay.
So.
Off-air text messages that I'm aware there was a Lisa Ann relationship. You had hung out with her.
Joe and Lisa Ann are good friends.
Yeah, well,
that's a connection.
She used to do work when Better Sports Network was the thing when Nick and I were there. And listen, she hosted a show on Wednesdays, and it was great. Like, she's always prepared. She knows her shit. Really wanted to be in the sports. Now, obviously, she's taking a step back, but for the most part, her friendship with Johnny is closer, right? So I'm a little closer than Johnny than Nick is. And 2 years ago, leading into the Super Bowl, where unfortunately your Eagles just couldn't get the job done that day. But Johnny was like, you can come with me. She okayed it. So that was the first time I ever saw her in person, and she was sweet and she was nice. And I mean, I've only really seen her in person twice, the 2 Super Bowl Sundays. But last year it was so much easier. She's like, yeah, Joe can come again. I loved having him last year. Yeah. So eventually we definitely have to do something, podcast related. Nick and I have to have her on. But she's honestly a sweetheart, like totally amazing person, so much fun to be around, and I'm hoping it becomes a yearly tradition.
Joe's locked in. He gets the buffalo wings.
But Joe, would she also refer to you, as Keith Irizarry once did on I'm Right, as being barrel chested? Do you think she would use that description?
No, not yet. I don't think. No, there's another story that at some point I'm going to share it down the line, but it happened while. She made a remark when I made a remark when they showed Taylor Swift in the booth during one of the plays this year after Kelsey made. And she said something, and I'm going to say it after the podcast ends. Okay. So I'm not going
to. Okay, I look forward to that.
Well, Joe mentioned your Eagles, but I got to ask you real quick.
Sure.
How much?
My brother for my birthday sent me a little phone protector here, so I'm branded as an Eagles.
EAGLES Super Bowl.
Speaking of Philadelphia sports, how much do you enjoy Joe's post Rangers Flyers tweets?
Well, that's exactly what I was going to bring up. He's actually become more tame. Like a couple of years ago, Joe was like, crush me, insult me. Like, listen, we have a rebuilding team. We're not very good. Now, to Joe's credit, who cares? Like, I'm a Rangers fan. I beat your team. I don't care if your team's good or bad. Yeah. We win. I'm going to taunt you. And I'm like, whatever. My team stinks right now. They're rebuilding. We haven't made the playoffs in 5 years. Rangers are great. Fine. But this past year, shocking. Couple of times, Rangers beat the Flyers, but good games. And Joe was like, hey, great effort by the Flyers tonight. They really showed up. Tight win for the Rangers. We needed this one. I go,
they were supposed to be so bad, and they overachieved a little bit last year. And
absolutely.
I think that's the early Tortorella effect. He gets the most out of his guys very, very early on. Yeah. Theoretically, the Rangers, I think their greatest rival right now is the Devils, right? Yeah. And the Islanders was their rival in the 70s and the 80s, and they're an original 6 team. But it just seems to me like their natural rival is always supposed to be the Philadelphia Flyers, right? And there's no period where they're really making a run at it at the same time.
Yeah.
So I think until that point comes, then the gloves are really going to come off. For now, I'll be like, yeah.
No, but you're absolutely right. If you say natural rivals, you said the team. I always think of, for the Flyers, Rangers or Penguins. If those are the 2 teams, and you say Devils stored in there, Flyers, Devils have had some great series, but no, it's always Rangers, Penguins, and especially as you point out, there's no real central Jersey. before I moved here, Michael Lombardi said to me, either you're going to live in North Jersey, which is New York, or South Jersey, which is Philly. And if you're North Jersey, you just say the county. Just say Bergen County. I go, okay, I don't know what that means.
Mike Lombardi's name is banned from this show.
Okay, sorry. He said if you're in South Jersey, you just say I'm on exit 4, like a turnpike. So his point was basically you're either New York or Philly. And it was amazing to me prior to moving here how close they are. Like I went to Philadelphia the other day. It's an hour 45. Like that is very close proximity for two major franchises and two passionate fan bases.
Closer than Citi Field for you.
No, Citi Field's an hour away. But I love the fact that, again, Joe's passion for the Rangers. Like I think generally I meet most people, it's a lot of football, Giants, Jets. It's a lot of Knicks, obviously, no question. Not many Nets, a lot of Yankees, Mets. But when you meet a hockey guy, it's like, no, you don't just happen to become a hockey fan. Like if you're a hockey fan, you're generally all the way in and you're passionate. It's a niche audience. So I love that.
Islanders are hockey people.
Yes.
Yeah, Islanders, exactly. If you meet somebody go, I'm a huge Islanders fan, you go, okay, that's not like your number 4 team. Like you're a huge Islanders fan. Otherwise, you would just say I'm not a hockey fan. So if you're a hockey fan by nature, it puts so much effort into it. I love you guys are both really into the Rangers, which is great.
Yeah, absolutely love John Tortorella. That's for sure.
You guys are torts guys, which is great.
Well, we once upon a time were torts guys.
Well, Nick mentioned the Lombardi's banned because he didn't come on the pod, but there's been other people I'm sure that said no to the pod, which you might still give a shout out. Has Steve Levy been on the pod? Is he still?
Steve Levy is by the book. Talk to the PR. Well, give me a contact information, okay? So Lombardi, he's I think Lombardi thinks he's too good for us, but we had Adam Schefter on.
I was going to say we had Schefter on.
How do you know that? How do they think this is false? This is slander you're throwing at Lombardi. How do you know he thinks he's too good for you? That's just you speculating because he's not doing your podcast. Maybe he's busy.
He said first of all, he was supposed to come on once. Day of, he canceled. So look for his schedule. He's like, I'm busy. It's football season. Hit me after. I hit him like a week after the Super Bowl. I was like, I'm sick of hearing my own voice. I need to take some rest. And then about 2 hours later, he's on the Pat McAfee show. Okay, so the rest didn't work out too well. And then I wrote to him again. I said, listen, Mike, I know you're busy. I want to, before the season starts, let's get you on. We just had Schefter on yesterday. No answer.
All right, I understand your frustration. I forgive him on the first one. If football season, I get that. Somebody hits you middle of October, I'm like, man, I'm doing baseball. I got other things. I'm like, no problem. But then you hit him right after football season. Okay, maybe I would have given more than a week personally, but okay. He was like, listen, dude, I'm tired. I'm sick of hearing my voice. But all right, that's fair. Then he was a Mac. It's annoying. But the third time he didn't respond, I will give you that one.
Yeah, I don't hold grudges. I can forgive, but I don't forget. Yeah.
Thank God I've never said no. I mean, like, you guys have a vendetta against me. I don't take it personally. Listen, Ed Zwick is the director of the movie Glory, one of my favorite movies. He has a book come out last year. It's incredible. He rips Julia Roberts. He takes shots at movie stars. It's unreal. I'm like, wow, I have it right here. Hits, flops, and other illusions. My 30-something years in Hollywood. So we get Ed Zwick. He's on like Access Hollywood. He's going to do Cinephile. I'm like, great. We have him on 1 o'clock. Chris Cody, my great producer. I sleep at the wheel. Totally forgets. 1 o'clock, 1:02. I call him. I text him, Joe, where are you? What's going on? I can't get into the Zoom because Chris controls it. At least if I'm there, I'll somehow finagle this. I'll text Fred. Fred, how do I record a Zoom? Fred will immediately get back to me. He's giving Scott the bottle. Still will help out his friend Adnan. I will know what to do. But I was like, no, I can't get in. Cody, I can't get in. Eventually, 1:08. Ed Zwick's gone. See ya. I go to Our Town Booker. Can we please rebook? They go to Ed Zwick's book. They go to Ed Zwick's Booker. His Booker's like, listen, he's busy. And I was like, and Cody's response is, well, he's not exactly Steven Spielberg. I said, no, I know, but if you do it and he's there and you're not there, he ain't coming back. You think Ed Zwick ever came back? No, that's on us. So
that's what happens. Listen, Lombardi, if he said no to me, no problem. But the fact that he said yes and was coming on and canceled and then didn't reschedule.
He gave you the false hope. I'm with you. If you just ask, because honestly, I don't do it. You go, okay, that's fine.
Right. Ken Rosenthal emailed him. He said, sorry, can't do it. No problem.
Yeah, I will still respond if you're right. Someone slides into my DMs and they're just like, hey, can you have my podcast? I'm like, no, honestly, I'm busy. I can't do it.
Right. And by the way, you always got hit up for that betting show and the other shows.
Yeah, no, I'll say yes to most. I'll give you guys a little, you guys already know this, but I'm like, if I just get a generic, hey, my name is Steve Williams and I have a project due and I'd like to talk to you, like that's a quick delete. You got to at least be a little specific. Hi, this is Steve Williams. I'm a big fan of your work on MLB Network. I loved you on College Football Live. I particularly like your Martin Scorsese takes on Cinephile. Particularly would like to talk movies. If you have 10 minutes available via Zoom, like the more specific, the better. Right. If I just get a broad, like, hey, can you come on and talk baseball? I'm like, that's a quick delete. Like, but I'll still write back. No, thanks. That's it.
You gotta kiss a little butt. I mean,
Correct.
You did a great job helping me get the Wagner College baseball broadcasting gig because you're a big fan of their athletics department, and it worked out. So I appreciate that.
I had Joe Buck on the pod. I never dreamed I'd get Joe Buck on the pod. I love Joe Buck. I didn't just text Joe Buck, "Hi, Joe, can you come on my podcast?" Joe, I've been a fan since '96. All those Yankees
Wow.
World Series. I loved your dad. A huge fan. He's like happy to come on.
How'd you get his
36
number?
minutes
From
with Joe Buck.
Costas or Harold?
Adam Amin. I had to ask him Amin
Okay,
first. I said, "Can you broker this first?" So he'd already brokered it, but I said, "Let's
We'll
be a
be
little
talking to
polite."
Adam Amin here in a minute or two.
Adam
Yep.
Amin's unbelievable. You're not going to find a better guy. If he big times you, all call him immediately. Adam Amin will do it for me. He won't big time. He'll do it.
I got to email him again.
Yep. All right, so let's go from one former great Monday Night Raw broadcaster announcer. You mentioned McAfee before. He's leaving. He's not coming back until Raw goes to Netflix at the beginning of next year.
Right.
So in his replacement will be Joe Tessitore, the great Joe Tessitore.
Yeah.
Now,
Holy.
believe you have some type of relationship with him.
Absolutely. I
Shared
love
an
Tess.
agent.
He's one of my favorite guys at ESPN. We have the same agent, the great Nick Khan, who's now running WWE. He's absolutely brilliant. So it makes sense to me. My first reaction, honestly, was like, what took so long? Like, Joe and Nick are thick as thieves, like as best as friends as you'll get. So it makes a ton of sense. After I got the gig, I remember Tess messaged me a little bit when I wasn't no longer there. I remember Tess called me. We had a great conversation. And like, he's just an awesome guy. Like, as a human being, he's phenomenal. Like, he's incredibly loyal. He's funny. He's smart. He's charming. He's much like you guys, much like me, has a wide variety of interests. He's not just a sports guy. We can talk movies, talk literature, talk Italian culture, talk food. He's a big foodie. He tells you about the ovens he's got, the way he makes mozzarella. Like, he's just a fascinating guy. Like, I just enjoy talking to Tess about anything. But as a sportscaster, he's awesome, and this is such a home run for them. Like, first of all, he's called combat sports for years, having done boxing, so he knows how to call wrestling. B, he's a genuine WWE fan. Like, I'm a fan, but not like to your extent, not to Tess's extent. Like, he knows everything. Like, he's locked in. Like, he's going to know everything, and he'll have a great relationship, I'm sure, with all the wrestlers. And he's got Nick's backing. He won't have Vince yelling in his ear like me. Like, I can't wait, man. I think Tess is going to be awesome. I've already texted with him. Obviously, I can't wait till September. I'll be watching. He's going to crush it.
All right, fair enough. Looking forward to that. But I keep telling you, you got to lean into your stint at wrestling. You could be going to all these conventions, charging people $15 a pop for a picture. Joe could be there, you get free admission, you meet the other, the divas and all that stuff. So I think
it is. You are right in. I know you're mocking, but you are right. That is a missed opportunity because the amount of
I'm
people.
not mocking. I think you really need to be out there making money.
There are still people who message me. Like the other day, we had this clip on MLB Tonight. Your Mets, Nick, and it was Francisco Alvarez. And all credit to our researcher Matt Baker, who's one of the many people in my ear, like our producer and director. And we go to the live look, and I would have given some stats, some nonsense. And Bake quickly says in my ear, 3-0. Do you give him the green light? I repeat it verbatim. Please, Sack and Harold both go, yes, absolutely. Let's go for it. And Please goes, you know how many heaters you're going to get. Next pitch, Alvarez goes deep, pimps the hell out of it. We start going berserk. Yep. Lou Baricelli, our incredible PR guy, sends the clip to awful announcing because you got to see this. These guys went absolutely nuts when Alvarez went deep.
Joe Lucia.
They write it. It wasn't Joe Lucia, thankfully. They write the article up. The other day, Lou texted me because we have 660,000 views. This is insane. People are watching this thing. But the point is, in the midst of the comments, which I do sift through to see who's insulting me, there was at least more than a handful of like, always been a big Adnan Virk fan, miss him on Raw. Yeah. Loved him on Raw. First became aware of him while he was calling Raw. So I'm like, you know what? I know I got crushed by people. No question. I'm sure there's many more that despised me and were happy that I was no longer there. But you are right. It is an identifying tool. There's only so many people in the world who can say they won what's called wrestling. So you are probably right.
I think the number of people who have done that job is under 10. So you're talking single digits.
Yeah, that's pretty insane when you put it in that respect. That is nuts.
So let's get out. Let's get you out there. We almost got to the table at that big event one. Your agent said no. The rest of the people.
My agent crushed. He said he was not completely down. He thought it was a terrible idea, quite frankly. I go, no, my buddy Nick was saying, he's like, no, it's awful. I go, okay. I just want to go to Arthur Ave Deli if I can find a way there. Do a guest appearance there.
One day, do the signing there. Listen, we got to talk real quick about your origins, which was ESPN News.
Yeah.
Just curious who you think is the greatest ESPN News anchor of all time.
Well, it's interesting because a lot of those guys ended up parlaying it into ESPN2 and ESPN. And it's not like a straight line. It's not like you do 6 months of ESPN News, you become whatever, but it just takes time. But there's some dudes that did ESPN News for a long time. Yeah. Like Michael Kim did ESPN News, I want to say over 10 years.
He was ESPN
right?
News. The
for
face.
Brian Kenny, over 10 years. I think John Buccigross, over 10 years. I think those three guys, I believe, were there a long time. And when you were there, you you felt humiliated if you were there for too long. But then I would look around and go, but if Michael Kim's doing it, like Michael Kim's awesome. Like he's a great anchor, a great guy. He brings gravitas to it. You always wanted to get to sports and you always wanted to get to ESPN. But I never begrudged being on ESPN News. I think you maybe felt it sometimes because the other guys were flourishing. But I remember Lindsay Zarniak starting in ESPN News, and I'm working with her. An idiot that I am, I'm thinking like, oh, she'll do this for 6 months. I'll offer some tutelage or advice. And I'm not kidding. Within 6 weeks, it was the shortest stint I've ever seen ESPN News. She was on ESPN doing the 6. And I'm like, she must look at me every day like this moron's trying to give me advice and be a sportscaster. And like, they've already told me like, hey, we're just going to dip your toe in the pool just for the sake of not annoying the other guys. But you're going to be on the 6. Like, no problem about it. Like, this has already been preordained. So the best ever, I don't know the best ever because that's subjective. Obviously I would go to Bretos because Max and I are friends and we did it the most together. So I would say Max. But if you want the most popular, Bill Pito. Bill Pito and I never worked together at ESPN. I was there 2010 to 2019. He was there 93 to 08. The amount of people who are like, see, his name would just come up, right? Next game, whatever, Rangers, they go, dude, Bill Pito's the best. Like among anchors, I don't believe I've ever met a more popular anchor at ESPN than Bill Pito. And Stan Verrett loved him, and Anish Shroff loved him, like different ages. Like if you're a young anchor, older anchor, Linda Cohn also very popular. I would say Linda Cohn's also another one that like if you're a younger anchor, older anchor, like everyone loved Linda. But Pito, these guys are like, dude, his final shift, I believe, was on ESPN News. He got a standing ovation. I go, get out of here. He goes, no, he finished the shift. That has never happened. I was there, Josh Elliott's final shift before he went to Good Morning America. Nobody gave him a standing ovation. He just went to his desk. People shook his hand. Good job. They go, Pito, standing ovation. Beloved by the rank and file. Beloved.
Yeah. And now you get to work with Pito a little bit.
Love him. I see him once in a while. He's a great guy. He's very, very funny. Everything he says is a catchphrase. It's very funny.
True. He's great. So you mentioned Max. You mentioned Adam before. So we got Max, we got Adam, we got Arda, we got Kevin Negandhi, we got Scott Rogowsky, Steven Nelson, Keith Irizarry. So of those 7, in descending order, I want you to rank them based on who would you want to play tennis with the most.
Amazing question. I'll go Arda last.
You can just give us the 3. Arda last. Wow.
Well, only because Joe gave so many names. I'm not gonna remember them all. I didn't write them down. So Arda stuck in my head. So I'm Arda last. He seems fit and he's definitely younger than me and he'd probably smoke me. So I don't want to play Arda. He's really good. Negandhi, I'll go second last because I don't know how his tennis game is. But I mean, it would be good to hang with him. We would just talk Eagles and talk Flyers. But I feel like Negandhi, he's got 3 kids. He'd be busy. He'd be a lot of stuff going on. I can't imagine that working out. We'll build up again. So you're going to set. So least, you also said Amin. I would love to play. Amin's probably second most I'd want to play. Okay. He's in good shape. He's shorter than me. I'll bring him to the net. I'll hit overheads. I'll hit lobs. Bretos is number 1 because Max and I have played tennis before, and I would call him Boom Boom Bretos. He's a good player, but I'm better than him, so I don't want to play anybody that's going to beat me. So I'm going Max 1, Adam Amin 2, Arda at the bottom, Negandhi. Who are the other ones you mentioned?
Keith.
Irizarry is probably
and
Nelly's third. I like Nelly. I think he's a good athlete. I think we'd have fun. I'm good to catch up, talk Dodgers. Irizarry's probably 4th. Again, Keith in great shape. I don't know how good a tennis player is, but he's in great shape. Sure. So he probably run me all over the place.
You hit them all. Rogowsky is good. Yeah. So Rogowsky.
5th. I mean, I'd probably go to a comedy club with Rags.
I had a feeling you were going to put Arda last.
Yeah.
And, I don't think he was too happy about it. Let's hear what you have to say.
Okay.
Adnan, it's Arda here. Nick invited me on the show to surprise you during your 300th episode guest appearance. I just wanted to say you are a gem of a human being. You are absolutely incredible. Everyone knows it. I know it. You have been immeasurable in helping me in my career. You've dropped everything, no matter how busy you are, to help me and field my silly questions about the industry, and I will always be grateful. I hope I see you very, very soon. Adnan, I am in Canada, the motherland. I'm outside of Canadian Tire. I just learned that they don't have physical Canadian Tire money anymore. I am disappointed by this. I am sad. So to cheer apparently this has been for the last several years, by the way, and this is news to me. So to cheer me up, I have a question for you. This is going to surprise me when I go back and listen to the 300th episode. So this is a very selfish question. I just want to know. For me, when I cross the border, when I come back to Canada, when I visit, the first thing I want is a Harvey's hamburger. Not because it's the best hamburger in the world. It's up there, but because there's no equivalent taste in the United States to a Harvey's hamburger. What is the one thing that you crave, that you absolutely want when you come back to Canada? The first thing you must do when you cross the border is let me know. You're the best. Nick, keep crushing it.
You won't be a better guy than Arda Ocal. That was unbelievable. Like, great surprise. Canadian Tire, for just so you guys understand. So it's like a Home Depot. You go there, you buy whatever, and they would give you Canadian Tire money. Now it's not much. It'd be like literally a bill that says 50 cents or $1. And it's essentially a coupon. But it was just funny that it was Canadian Tire money. So very specific Canadian reference. I didn't realize they got rid of the Canadian Tire money either. Harvey's is great. They make an excellent burger. My mom's a big Harvey's fan. I love the Tim Hortons French vanilla. First thing I'm going to get, Arda, as soon as I go across the board, Tim Hortons French vanilla. I don't drink coffee, as you guys know, but it's loaded with sugar, so I can drink it because it tastes like, just a sugary drink. And I love Coffee Crisp. My wife also a big Coffee Crisp fan. I love Eat More. Jersey Milk is great. Any of the chocolate bars are awesome. I'll tell you my Arda story because he's a great guy. Here's the connection. So he and I both worked at the Score together. Again, not concurrently, kind of like Pito. We know of each other, didn't work together. He's in New York. He's unemployed at the time. This is after, I think he was no longer with MSG. And he reaches out because I'll come to Connecticut to see you. Don't know the guy at all. I'm like, I'm happy to have a meal. So we had a great time. He drove literally like an hour and 45 minutes to get there. He says, the name Adnan, there's a lot of Turks named Adnan. I'm like, no, I believe it's, our family's Pakistani, but I know you're Turkish. Very popular in Turkey. I believe it might be a Turkish name originally. He's like, yeah, because when I saw your name, I go, this guy's got to be Turkish. But we had a wonderful conversation, shared backgrounds, families, et cetera. He's a great father. He's a great employee, and he's really proud of what he's done with himself, his community. He's awesome. So he's being very far too generous. I don't think I gave him great advice, to be honest. It's not like he got a job the next day. I just was like, hang in there, things will work out. But the fact he's now at ESPN and he's like an integral part of their hockey coverage is amazing. Like, dude, he's if Steve Levy has COVID, all of a sudden Arda's hosting the Stanley Cup Final. So let's hope Levy gets sick and Arda's in there because he deserves it.
Well, I want to thank Arda for joining the show, episode 300. Wanted to join us live, but he couldn't. He was driving through Canada. But Arda, thanks for dropping on.
Thank you, Arda. Very, very good surprise. All right, so let's get back to your time in Sea Caucus. I remember once I was in the Say Hey Cafe, and a certain person, Harold Reynolds, actually approached a friend of mine and us when we were getting dinner, and started asking us questions, like genuine questions, like getting to know us. Incredibly friendly. And then I saw him a handful of times after that, working downstairs on the baseball side of things. So hosting the 6 p.m. MLB Tonight with Harold Reynolds, finally going to the All-Star game, and Harold treating you and Lauren Gardner to a steak dinner. Tell us about that.
So listen, Harold's a great guy. He's obviously a ton of fun to work with. I have great respect for him. Again, an ESPN guy, not when I was there, but shared friends and mutual respect. And he told me he was an integral part of me being on the Six. He was like, I told those guys, I want to work with this guy. We're going to have a blast together. So I love H. He's very charismatic. He's charming. He's funny. He knows his stuff. He doesn't take himself too seriously. I can't say the number of people I've worked in the industry who it's like, they're funny, but if you make fun of them, they can't take it. Harold can take a joke and he can dish it out, which is a great quality about him. He's not big when it comes to socializing, nor am I. But on the road, we finished work and he was hungry. So he said, let's quickly grab something. And I said, okay, because we're going to be quick. And I said, okay, I'm quick. I'm like you. I don't like to mess around either. 1 hour in and out. I got people to call, things to do, movies to watch. I'm like, yeah, I'm not here to dither. So ironically, the three of us all don't drink alcohol. So it was that would speed up the process. No one's going to have a bottle of wine. So I'm like, no, water, Diet Coke. Okay, let's go. Let's just give us the steak. Give us the goddamn steak and let's go. So Harold wants like a Wagyu. I'm like, oh my God, I couldn't believe how expensive it was. So I'm looking at the menu and I'm like, okay, I don't know how to file for per diem. This is coming out of my own money. This is on my own checking account. So let's just go as cheap as you can. I'm like, I'll just get a, side dish of pasta. And then Harold's like, I got it. I'm like, you do? I'm like, great. In that case, I got the ribeye, porterhouse, make that a 14 ounce. I'm like, great. That's going to be about an $80 steak. I'm like, yep. I'm like, that's going to happen. And then Lauren gets whatever she orders. And Harold, true to form, the food took a little while, but this is where I annoyed him. Although I'm not a drinker, I am a dessert guy. So I think he just wanted to eat and then bounce. I'm like, we got to see a dessert menu. And I could already tell he was like, I'm like, no, I can't. Joe, he's paying and I love dessert. Like, even if I had to pay, I would have had cheesecake. But I'm like, no, you're paying. Like, I'm definitely getting, obviously, I'm getting dessert. Are you nuts? So I think I try to get something quick. And I even said, because I could feel his anxiousness. Like, the leg is moving like this. And I'm like, I go, what's a quick one? I go, whatever you got. We're in Texas. Yeah, I'm not going to order a cheesecake. But what do you like? Ice cream, sorbet, something? Whatever I order. I think, she goes, the banana bread cake is to die for. Like, it's incredible. Like, okay. And I got to tell you guys, we were making good time up until then. It was probably 45 minutes from the time we'd sat down to them. We'd eaten the steaks. It took at least 20 minutes to get there. Harold is verbally complaining now. He's like, dude, why'd you order the, like, I can't be ordered the, I go, you can leave. Like, leave your card.
You were the only one who ordered dessert.
Only one ordered dessert.
That's a bad move.
No, that's not a bad move. I'm like, he's paying for it. I'm getting dessert. Like, this is the one time of the year. I carried him all year long. My one reward is I get a dinner. I'm getting dessert. LG doesn't care. She's on her phone, whatever. It's fine. Dessert comes. And thankfully, I do. I said, can you bring 3 spoons? Harold takes one bite. He's like, that was not worth the wait. And I was like, no, he's right. I took a bite too, and I was like, no. And then are you honest? Like, we've all worked in the food industry. Are you honest with the person? I think Harold was honest. She came back and he was like, listen, the steak was awesome. Dessert was okay. And he's like, you sold it like it was to die for. But I think he still gave her a very nice tip. So it was a unique experience. It's nice to be with LG.
The takeaway from this is, like, I know you have paid for young up and coming talent dinners before.
Correct.
So Harold owed you there for sure. But I mean, you got to learn how to do this per diem. I talk to every single trip.
Right.
But you got to learn how to expense.
You're absolutely right. Shout out to again, Matt Baker, the great researcher. The last time we were together, he was like, I'll teach you how to do it. I said, how about this? Because Ravish did this at ESPN. Again, didn't want to learn the system. And ESPN's, I think, was very complicated. I tried doing it a few times. It was awful. Eddie President, because they purposely do this just so you'll lose money. They don't want you to. They're purposely doing this. So Ravish got somebody. He goes, if you do it for me, I'll give you 10%. Buchagras got the same person. It was Dita McKinney. He goes, if you do it, I'll get you a bottle of wine every 6 months. Like that. They just had arrangements because it was too hard to do. So I said to Baker, I go, if you teach me, I'll give you 10%. He goes, you don't need to give me 10%. I'll teach. It's going to take you 10 minutes. We're going to do this together. It's like $60 a day. You're just throwing it away. And I go both ways on it. On the one hand, I'm like, yeah, per diem's a nice thing. I'm on the road. I shouldn't be losing money to go to Subway. But then I'm like, they just flew me first class to the All-Star game. Like, do I really need the 50?
I think the takeaway here is
I'm eating free food. I'm eating free food at the park. They give you free food. I got watermelon.
At the hotel, you know.
Hotel in the morning, skip breakfast.
How about your car? You have to have a rental car.
No rental car. They have an Uber for you. The Uber picks you up easy.
Okay. I thought you got to do rental car once.
No, I went to do rental car. Maybe once, but it was PB did it. It was fun.
Listen, I think the takeaway here is if I was still working there, you'd be knowing how to do this expensive work for me.
Correct. You would just pull me aside. Go, it takes 5 minutes, dude. Here's your per diem. But I've saved the company hundreds of dollars.
I know. They love you. They love you. And you also saved yourself hundreds of thousands of dollars on your suits. Your suit game is unmatched right now. I mean, some of the recent suits, the purple one, that teal one, the green, they're great right now. These suits were all ordered, 2021, 2022, and they're still coming through. And how difficult was it for you last year at the All-Star game to have unhemmed pants?
It wasn't a problem at all, actually, because we're sitting at a desk, and it's happened before. Like, I'm short, and I've had pants before that didn't fit. So I did it when I was 14. The pants didn't fit, just roll up the suit. So it was totally fine. The pants came. Ravi was like, the last suit's here. Pants are not hemmed. I text him. I go, no problem. I'll roll it up. Someone's like, a safety pin. I go, you don't need a safety pin. I'm behind a desk. No, not one person will be looking at my pants. They're just like, okay, what's he look like? Waist up. We're good to go. But Ravi, my unbelievable suit guy, Baines and Baker, he gave me an incredible sweetheart deal because he was outfitting some people at MLB and NHL Network for whatever the price was. I don't know. And then I said to him, listen, I'm at WWE and they have a clothing deal. MLB does not have a clothing deal. There's a clothing deal at WWE. Vince McMahon, very generous with the clothing. This is the set amount. I will give you that money. You just give me whatever amount of suits you want. So I took that WWE money and then went to Ravi and got the suits. The good news, as you point out, is the suits are awesome. Like every time, I'm like, oh, nice suit, nice. I get compliments all the time. The bad news is it took a while because it was a bulk order. I ordered 20 suits. It took,
oh my gosh,
to get all the suits. It took 2 years and 3 months.
Do you keep them in your office? Where do you keep your suits?
No, I have them all at home. There's weddings and stuff, things to go to. Yeah, I was in Long Island the other day for a wedding. It was
so you wear your suit to work. What do you come?
I do. I wore the suit to work. At ESPN, I did not. I would have all my suits at work. And to people, after I got fired, I go, I'm never doing that again. I want to have all my stuff with me. So if they get rid of me,
and you miss those change-up days, coming in and whatever you want, t-shirt.
Change-up days were great. Golf shirt, a lot of polos. It was great. So normally I'll come in the suit, but I don't like the idea of the guy who's fully dressed.
Yeah.
Greg Amster walks in full suit and tie as he's walking the door. That's insane. I'm wearing a dress shirt, untucked with dress pants. That's it. And I got the jacket.
You saw Tracy Morgan's jacket in your office?
Tracy Morgan's jacket is still in the office. Yeah, I haven't put it on in a while, but I'll take a picture for you next time. Yeah. But I thank you for the compliment on the suits. The suits are always an important thing to have, and it's coming out of your pocket.
I heard what was it? The trade deadline, right? Alex Cora.
Loved it. FaceTime me. Yeah, he waited until the commercial break. He FaceTime me. He goes, dude, unbelievable suit. I'm like, oh, thanks so much. Appreciate it. What are the Red Sox doing? He goes, I'll let you know in a couple hours. Booney also texted. Speaking of Joe's Yankees, Booney texted. He goes, hey, I'm far away from the TV, but is that suit purple? I'm like, yeah. He's like, love it. Great suit. Thumbs up. I'm like, all right.
Booney with the text. Got to go to another Yankees game soon.
Absolutely. Listen, Booney's my guy. I know it's been up and down. I know Yankees fans are mad, but Joe, all the big teams are flawed. There's not one team that's a superpower. Every single team, Dodgers, Yankees, Brewers, Orioles, are all on pace for about 95 wins. So who knows come October?
Yep. 6 teams were all within a game of each other the last couple of days. It's insane.
Crazy.
But let's go back to your insane suit game because there's only like very few characters in movie history that can match your suit game. One of them being Tony Montana, played by the great Al Pacino.
Nice.
We
Oh,
know
yeah.
we love your Italian actors. We know we love Pacino,
Yeah.
Pesci, and your guy,
Yeah.
Robert De Niro. We know there's not many people on this earth who love Robert De Niro more than you. So I'm going to throw a curveball at you. I want you to say something negative about De Niro.
Wow. I went to his restaurant on Friday night with my friends. It was great. Tribeca Grill, fantastic. I went downstairs. They had like autographed posters of Bob, taxi driver, Mean Streets. He was great when I interviewed him. Could not have been nicer. Funny, charming. Kissed Damon on the cheek. She hasn't washed her face since then. His movies are incredible. The only criticism I can offer is that some of his movie choices the last 20 years leave a little bit desired. He's made at least a handful of movies that clearly
He's taking money grabs.
clearly felt like paycheck movies.
I think his last good movie was The Intern.
No, that's not true. The Irishman's incredible. It came out 5 years ago. Awesome film. The Killers of the Flower Moon came out last year. He got nominated for an Oscar. He was outstanding. It was his first Oscar nomination since Silver Linings Playbook. He still makes those great films, and that's what makes him special. Is that like he can still jack up a 50-footer? You go like nobody else but De Niro could do this. Adam Amin just texted me yesterday. He goes, "Hey, so I read the book The Irishman first, then I watched the movie. I'll read the exact text. I swear to God." He was like, because most people are like, "Oh, I love DiCaprio. I like the cinematography. I like the story. Scorsese's directing." This is Adam Amin's words, not mine. He goes, finish the book, watch the movie. De Niro, excellent. DiCaprio, excellent, but outshined by Bob. Gladstone, excellent, just phenomenal. Like he was like, this movie's unbelievable. But there was definitely some paycheck movies. Showtime with Eddie Murphy, awful. Rocky and Bullwinkle, brutal. But I wouldn't criticize him because, quite frankly, there'll be a point in my career I'll be probably doing some crappy things. Like, why are you doing that? Like, I got 4 kids. I'm 60 years old. I need the money. He's got 6 kids. I get it.
Like
That's the only
Alan
negative thing I
Jost
can
and
think
Tom
about.
and Jerry. I remember we discussed that.
So you didn't like you didn't like Dirty Grandpa?
I actually found it funnier than I thought it would, Joe. I went into it going, this is going to be awful. And I actually found it,
I thought
half
it
a dozen lines really funny. And I'm with you. Like it was in such a crass, coarse manner that I couldn't help but laugh. Right. Then once at the end, he pretends he likes Fox News. Even the first scene, it was actually pretty funny. And who was the actor? Aubrey Plaza, right? Yeah.
But I was talking about Colin Jost and Garfield. That was just
call it tough.
Give me the money.
You gotta take some money sometimes. That happens. I don't begrudge people. I didn't like saying anything negative. You said I had to say something negative, so I'll say it.
But
I still hedge it by saying I don't begrudge him because I'm like, you need money. I get it. He's got 6 kids. Like, go ahead, do what you want.
Listen, I took the diplomatic approach from
He's got a growing family,
Yeah, exactly. He's a 1-year-old child and a 54-year-old daughter. Like, that's insane.
Him and Pacino figured it out, right?
I love it. Well, that's when you ask me, let's circle it back, as I hope we're winding up. It's now been an hour, so I'm going to leave soon.
Yeah, but we're winding up here. We're getting off the mark here. So
right. But as we bring it back full circle, Joe, when you said to me, if you close the store, to be blunt, I have not had a vasectomy, and I learn more people are doing this, and I go, no, I have no interest in it. I'm not going to have I'm not going to have a snippage because I want to be like Pacino and De Niro. If there's a chance I can be 80 years old, have another child, I want that chance. So is the store closed? Not technically, but I believe so.
I mean, listen, you're a boy maker, right? Like, that's the dream.
Right.
You're going to have a very strong Virk bloodline. That matters.
Yeah.
And the only other bloodline I can think of off the top of my head that might be stronger than the Virk bloodline is the bloodline. One last question here, and then we'll really start wrapping it up. You mentioned, does hard work really matter, or is it truly all written in the stars? And if that's the case, then you got to convince Nick this.
I think you have to have a good work ethic. Again, I'm going to mention Jesse Palmer again, along with the restaurant reservation, which was underwhelming. This is a guy he would think to yourself, he looks like $1 million. He's born on third base. What does he need in life? He's got one of the best work ethics that anyone I've ever met. I saw my friend Claire Atkins yesterday. Claire and I worked with Jesse on college football, and I'm like, this guy would come in and just grind. Like, I was amazed at how much college football he would watch when he wasn't there, how much tape he'd break down in his video. And in my head, I'm like, dude, you look like $1 million. You look like Brad. You could just show up and mail it in and just smile. And like girls, oh, nice suit, looks handsome, whatever. But I'm like, he cared so much. And now you mentioned The Bachelor. Again, Claire and I were guessing, like, how much does he make? And I'm like, I have no idea. I'm like, but honestly, Jesse's not a guy about the money. Like, if they're paying him $1 million or 300,000 or 30 million, like, I have no idea. I'm like, that guy grinds. Like, he really works hard. And if I look at any common denominator of anyone in my phone, any successful person, they're all hard workers. I think you have to have work ethic. I don't. Maybe sometimes this does happen. I think maybe sometimes guys get lazy over time. That might be true. You're more complacent. You might focus on other priorities rather than your job. That's not necessarily a bad thing. You focus more on family. But especially when people are starting out, and generally speaking, most of their careers, the most successful people are the hardest workers. I believe that to be the case.
All right. Well, hard work then, Joe. Not written in the stars, but I think it's more so written in the stars because sometimes hard work does not work out.
Wait, our point is basically, if you work hard enough, will you get to the result?
Right.
Or is it all just destiny?
Right. That's the thing. Joe's on the destiny side of things.
So you got to work hard. If you work hard, the universe
Listen,
will reward you with your destiny.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think it's just written on the side. I don't think you just wake up and you go, I'm going to be great today. I'm like, no, I think you have to put in the effort. But I do think I like the expression, luck is hard work meets opportunity. So to Joe's point, I think if you work hard, then you get, like if someone said to me, how did you become successful in your career? I say, honestly, I just got really lucky. But if you look further, you go, well, you got lucky by working hard and being out there and saying yes to people. Like eventually it works out. But I understand your point too, Nick, which is that you can't just hope you work hard and it'll work out. There's hardworking people I've seen who have not been successful.
Yeah, no, you got to work smarter versus working harder. Sometimes people just work hard and they get lost in the sauce.
All right.
It's a great point.
Last thing here, of course, our signature question is the you know I'm right moment. We've asked you that before, but I'm going to put a little twist on it here. Like Arda said, everyone feels so open to coming to you for advice. So give me a time where someone came to you for advice and they said, Adnan, I'm thinking of doing this. And you were like, don't do that. Like, that's not going to work out for you. Or you were like, well, maybe you should do this. And then in the end, you were right about it and the advice you gave to this person. It seems like you were right to the advice you gave Arda, but is there any other times where you were right about advice you gave somebody?
See, I should have prepped for this. I knew you would ask me. You've asked me this before. The podcast is called You Know I'm Right. And then now I blank. I can't. No, I don't think people come to me for advice, but I don't actually give advice. I just listen. I'm just sympathetic, right? Like Stephen Nelson calls me because I just go, you know, that sounds like a frustrating situation. Like basically what happens is they complain to me. They go, this is a problem. I can't do this. I go, yeah, that sucks. That's frustrating. So I empathize. Then they go, I'm thinking of doing this. And I go, yeah, I think it's a good idea. If that's how you feel, I'm like, yeah, I go, and I just embolden whatever their decision is. So I actually don't give advice. I just support whatever they're saying. And afterwards go, hey, that was great advice. I go, I didn't say anything. I just supported you. You came to your own conclusion. It's like a therapist. Smart. Like I don't like maybe therapy
from Dr. Melfi.
Right. He just exactly. She's just repeating back to Tony what he wants to hear. That's perfect. Sure. I think I'm good enough for this job. I think you are too. Hey, that's great advice. I'm like, it wasn't advice. I just encouraged you. That's all I did. It's easy.
It's amazing. And then you're the best. You know, we went over an hour. So I don't know if there's anything else you would like to say, but you know how we end this.
Cinephile.
Is anything like you would share, promote, including the Cinephile?
No, I honestly, I just want to say
one of our favorite people in the whole world.
No, listen, here's what I want to thank you guys for. What I find most amusing, it's like a Where's Waldo thing with me and the podcast. Like you guys will just shoehorn me into a conversation, which there's no business that I'm even mentioning that conversation. You guys have done it, I'm going to say at least a dozen times.
Yes.
So if I've been on 4 times, I've been at least 16 appearances, like just randomly. It's like, hey, our good friend Adnan Virk, and like you can tell the person's kind of like I wasn't sure how he got in the conversation. Like Tom Hamilton, I think was like, okay, like well, sure, WWE, I guess, but he was definitely put off. But Mariani, I think reacted well. It was fine. But like if you say to Joe Micheletti, he'll be like, I don't know Adnan Virk. Like I'm aware of the name, I think, but I'm not sure why you're bringing him up. So I just wanted to thank you guys.
Joe Micheletti, that's the guy who works hard.
Micheletti's look, Kenny Albert's another one. Kenny Albert, you go, oh, nepotism, right? Because of Marv. That guy works harder than anybody. So did it help his dad's Marv Albert? Of course it did. But if you're not good, eventually you're going to get sounded out. That guy's grinding all the time.
Listen, it's not nepotism. Kenny Albert became very good at what he does. And like I said, the Virks, your boys are going to follow in your footsteps one day, and they're going to be like the Alberts and the Bucks, a great broadcasting family. I hope so.
I hope so. That's the dream, buddy. Just as long as they don't embarrass me and don't ask for too much money, that we should be totally fine. I'll take it. I'm thrilled for you guys again. 300 episodes is amazing. You guys should be very proud. Way to go. And hopefully lots more to come. Eva Marie coming soon. Maybe Mandy Rose. Like, yeah, keep it growing.
I'll have to shoehorn you in those ones. Listen, Adnan, just want to say on your behalf, you know, screw lids and fanatics. They screwed you over. Go check out Adnan's Twitter on that. But Adnan, this has been great. 300 episodes. We thank you so much for your time. And we'll do it again in 2 years for episode 400. We'll have you back in 100 weeks. And we'll keep the train rolling here. So that's going to do it here for episode 300 of You Know I'm Right. For my co-host, Joe Calabrese, our very, very, very special guest, Adnan Virk. I am Nick Durst, and this has been You Know I'm Right, episode 300.